So we can record this also, because I always slap the recording up on YouTube. So it's that way we can post the recording of this whole thing in our members area for those that would want to go there. If you're not a member, shoot me a message and we will make sure that we get you set up and you can have a profile there and all that good stuff. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get our little coffee break started. And hopefully you got your coffee, and we are off and running here on a Wednesday. And if you noticed the, this is basically a continuation of yesterday, except I'm not going to rant. Hopefully if you were here yesterday or watched the recording of this yesterday, you had the opportunity to download this this report. If you read through it, what I would suggest you do is add this into your discussions. Utilize this, learn this, pull segments out of this, how you can use this when you're talking with people. This is probably, I think it's probably extreme. On the extreme side, when you talk accidental drownings, they're not something that happens. Most drownings don't happen this way, but it's still something I think that parents need to be concerned about, because this was an epic fail. I mean, it was an epic fail on so many levels, and just, my wife, Lori, she wrote a blog post probably about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, right in there. And she wrote that with this story in mind. Actually, it's a reflection upon, my daughter's drowning, but she wrote that basically asking the question of who's watching your child. I know there's some people part of this group that share similar situations, some with non-fatal drownings, some with fatal drownings, and that you weren't present at the time when your loved one experienced this event. And so really you have to ask that question, who's watching your children? But this was so preventable, and so really I just want to get your thoughts on some of this, and as we kind of reflect upon it a little bit, if you've had the opportunity to think about it. And not only that, did you share this with somebody? Did you tell somebody what you learned? I shared this with multiple people on several platforms. I converted the video over, put it up on YouTube, shared that, got a lot of comments, got some messages, got some emails. Some people said that they remember, after hearing what I was talking about, they remember hearing about that accident, 25 years ago. I may have heard about it. I don't recall. It doesn't ring a bell with me. Again, that was a period of time in my life that, lot of stuff, baggage and things like that going on in your world. So can't say, I just don't really remember. But anyhow, what I really want to do is reflect upon yesterday's conversation, number one, okay? The other thing is water safety advocates, is because I believe no matter what you do, you're an advocate, because you're advocating for, being safe in or around water. You're advocating for drowning prevention, that is. And so I want to ask you a question. How can we how can we prevent accidents like this? I think that's probably a solid question to ask. And I think that's a question that the industry's been asking itself for a long time. And everybody has an answer to that. But nobody is saying that they hold the solution. I have started to repurpose that video, the recording from yesterday. I've cut out a segment, a 38-second spot. We are editing that up. We're going to repurpose some of that content to put into short little segment videos that we're going to put out, and we're going to run some sponsored content targeting parents and parents of children, people with swimming pools, things like that, to draw, to drive a little bit of curiosity. It doesn't say anything. It's calling people out to step up. It's calling people out. In other words, you know, the idea here is what I'm sharing with you is my ideas as far as where I'm going with this. And I said it yesterday. I made a bold, I'm making a bold statement here, and the statement is I have the solution. And the solution's really not that hard to prevent an accident like what happened that I told you yesterday. The solution is not that hard. It's not that difficult. Yes, if he would have had a bit of strong swimmer, would that have saved his life? Yes. If he would not have entered the pool that day, would he be alive today? Yes. Would, if the school or the teachers or the lifeguards, you look at everything that went wrong. If one of those things would have worked, he may still be here today. The point of this is I have the solution, and the solution is real simple. But how, you might be saying, okay, Rick, you don't teach anybody. I'm not a pool guy. I'm not, I don't teach swim lessons, and I'm not any type of water safety instructor or anything. So, how do I have a solution to the problem? Well, the solution is pure numbers, really. The numbers and the math that work out that way. And, and how can I make this claim that, I have the solution? Well, I've studied a lot of different movements over the years, Mothers Against Drunk Driving being one of them, along with other movements outside of this country in Africa and other things where they work with changing people's behavior. And that's kind of, you can begin to, share your story. And Allison, right? We can provide education. I think education on the stats. But here's what I want to talk to you. You brought up an interesting point, Allison, on the stats. As a educator, somebody who teaches swim lessons, somebody who teaches, I think stats are extremely important to the people in the industries because we need to understand and we need to know this. I believe the average mom and dad, just as I was before my daughter drowned, I don't care about stats. All I care about is my child in my particular situation and how I can keep my daughter safe. That's what I care about. Okay. The stats, as an individual person, most people don't believe that they could affect the stats. But we as educators, number one, can. And I think stats are extremely important for us to understand what they are. But I don't believe that telling every single person that drowning is the leading cause of accidental death to children will change people's behavior. I've spoke to numerous groups of people and parents, and I have seen parents turn off. I've seen people disconnect with that because parents just don't believe it will happen to them. But if we can put those stats in some type of conversation, in some type of content that really hits that home, where we can speak in their language so they understand and get it. It's a fine line, but where I'm going with this, and when I say I have the solution, and the solution is you, Allison. The solution is everybody that's out there. You provide a solution to the problem. One of the things is had somebody message me a few weeks ago, and they said, "Hey, Rick, this is great information. I really appreciate it. We are, we're saving one life at a time." Great. That is something that's been said for a long time, saving one life at a time. And we need to do that. But what I'm really looking at is looking at an industry to say, okay, let's change our thinking. Let's save one life at a time each day, every day. Let's save one life at a time every day. In other words, can we tell somebody the story of this boy or somebody else's story, or, how can we tell that to motivate people to take action? I don't think telling parents that if their children don't have these skills, or if or the adults don't know how to swim, it's going to keep them out of the water. I think the evidence and the numbers prove that that's not an accurate statement. So, we have to just share the dangers and be in their face. I mean, if you had the cure for cancer, you'd be telling everybody. You'd be telling everybody. If you had the cure for obesity and could knock off the pounds and tell everybody that you'll never gain weight again, you would be telling everybody, every single person. You would, you wouldn't sleep. This is just as important as that. And each one of us has a solution. My solution is just really telling everybody. Massive action on such a large scale, and motivating enough people to turn around and tell teachers, tell educators, tell everybody about the dangers about being in and around water, especially if there's a school trip, as we look at something like this. And, when I was talking with my wife on this yesterday, she says that's why, when her children and our children were young, she always she always volunteered to be what they call those, chaperone. Always volunteered to be a chaperone on a field trip, because she always felt like nobody can watch her children as well as she can. And, I think as parents, we feel that way. I know for a lot of parents, that's not a possibility. That's something that they can't do. So they have to put that trust in somebody else. But if we can create a movement or create something around enough information, getting the right information to the right people, going back to, the stats, I think, if we find parents that, if there's people that are motivated by stats, then we need to give them that information. But if parents, I think on the most part, when you tell them about the drowning, the numbers, their jaw hits the ground because they didn't know it. But I don't think that's motivation enough. It doesn't motivate enough people. I think it motivates some. And let me tell you a quick story, and where I'm kind of going with this thought a little bit. I remember the time I was a first-time parent. Actually, I wasn't a parent yet. My wife was pregnant with our first daughter. This was going back 1985. My daughter was born in November of 1985. We had a Kirby salesman vacuum cleaner guy call us on the phone. Wanted to do a presentation. Sure, come on out. I vowed I'm not buying any vacuum cleaner. He says, make sure you clean the carpet. You do the best job you possibly can. Clean it, shampoo it, do whatever you want to with it. He came out, and this is what I'm saying. He didn't have to share any stats with me. He didn't have to share anything. He just demonstrated something to me. He told me to do something, and I did it, and I really did it really well. He showed up. If you've ever had one of these demonstrations, he puts this little attachment on the bottom of the vacuum cleaner that has a little white felt pad in it. He takes a section. He says, Mr. Kauffman, he says, pick out the part of the carpet. Pick out this section of the carpet that you want me to clean, and I'll clean it. And so I picked out a part of the carpet, and I thought, this is probably the cleanest part of the carpet. He's not going to show me how dirty this carpet is, because I'm not going to buy this thing. And he turns around and he cleans it. Pulls that, maybe 10 seconds, 15 seconds. He pulls that off and shows me how much dirt. He looks over and sees my wife is about ready to pop. I mean, she's probably about 7 months, 8 months pregnant. And so he looks at me and says, Mr. Kauffman, you don't want your child to be crawling on this dirty floor, do you? And the next thing I know, he walked out with over $1,700 of my money. And so the point of that is he could have shared the stats of carpet and stats about dirty floors, things like that. But he found something. He found a way to communicate his message and the importance of why I needed to have a Kirby vacuum cleaner that we kept for probably 20 years. That eventually it was so heavy. If you ever know anything about those things, they're heavy. They have like umpteen. I think it brushed our teeth. It shaved our heads. It shampooed my car. It waxed it. It buffed it. I mean, and the thing, I think they probably make them and they drive your car today. I don't know. But anyways, if you ever had one, you know, I walked out with he walked out with $1,700 of my money, and I had a great loan program to pay it back at 32% interest. So I think in the end, it cost me like $2,500 just to keep my daughter off of a dirty floor. That wasn't the only thing we spent. So, I think if we can figure out a way to communicate our message to parents, especially maybe first-time parents or parents that, will understand the dangers of water, they'll be motivated to do whatever it takes to keep their children safe. Just the same as it is that I did, we're spending money. If somebody wants something bad enough, money's not an object. Money's just an obstacle, and we can overcome that. You know, as long as as long as they have means. But again, it's just an obstacle. It's something in a way. It's something that we can work around, and that's why we have scholarships. That's why we have so many different things. So there's multiple ways that we can get people in the water when we're looking at that. So that's kind of why I wanted to share that story, is because that's what motivated me to spend $1,700, because I wanted to keep my daughter off of a dirty floor. But that carpet, if you would have imagined that carpet, I don't think you could ever get that carpet clean, because it was an apartment complex. I was in the military, and we lived outside of Newport News, Virginia, outside of Langley Air Force Base. And it was one of those, the townhomes we lived in, I think were built in the 1960s, and it had this like puke green molded carpet. Back in the 80s, it was left over. I mean, it's probably 20 years old. I mean, I'm sure it's long gone by now. But you figure all that, animals and all the things that's probably been on that carpet. I mean, I don't think anything would have got it clean. I think, you could always pull it, but I didn't realize that. I just saw the dirt there. And when he pointed at my pregnant wife, he said, you don't want your unborn baby, your new baby, to be crawling on that dirty floor. So hence I pulled out the checkbook, wrote a check, and signed papers, and we had a Kirby vacuum cleaner that night. So, and the other thing is, the reason why I say you're the solution here and I'm the solution and you're the solution, is because we all have a voice. We have a voice that we can project, and we can tell people each and every day, share a story, share something that will help motivate people to take action. What can we say to teachers that if a child comes to you and tells you that little Johnny is sick and little Johnny has a problem, that the teacher will take it seriously enough. I think we hear stories in the media and the news, all this, and then not only that, but what can and does save lives. We each know something that can and does save lives. Whether or not we've actively saved a life yet, or whatever we do, we can share that information. And we each know people. And we each know people that we've never spoke to about water safety. I'll guarantee it. If you went through any type of list of names, you probably know somebody. And these people know that people you don't. And I think we need to ask them, say, okay, who do you know that maybe is pregnant? Maybe you know somebody that's having a child. Maybe you know somebody has a number of children. Maybe you know somebody that doesn't know how to swim. Do you know who other people do you know that owns a pool? Maybe they don't have fencing. Maybe they have, maybe we can drop them some information. We can invite them into a Facebook community. Maybe we can, email them something. I mean, there's multiple ways that we can share our story. And if we can focus on reaching one new person with a story, with something to help motivate them to take action in our own community, in our own backyard, but also, put this out, wherever, because you never know where people might be. And so, so really to kind of sum up this whole thought process here is, really by working together is what I'm saying. We can mobilize an army, and that's what we really need to do, is we need to mobilize an army of people to carry that message, carry some message. And then drowning, here's the thing. When I look at this story that was in here that I read to you yesterday, that drowning just didn't happen to the boy. I mean, you figure the 6 adults that were there, their lives probably were ruined, their careers, everything. Well, I speak from my own personal experience. I know people that are, the stress and the things that have happened in their lives following the accident. I mean, marriages have ended, all these type of things. It ruins people's lives. A drowning does. Not a lot of good comes out of a situation like that. And so it just doesn't happen. It happens to the family. It happens to those people, all those individuals. Just imagine how those lifeguards that swam over top of that boy's body and never saw the boy's body, after they found out the boy's body was there, how did they feel? Did they remain as a lifeguard? What are the questions that they asked? I mean, so, and that, because we do hold the solution by just telling everybody we know. And if we can get everybody to do that, and then those people also share the importance and get them involved and motivate them to also share, our stories or other stories, and to get involved, because they can also make a difference. Just like, sharing, hey, so-and-so has the cure for cancer. They have the cure for diabetes. They have the cure for whatever's, public health crisis is out there, because drowning is a public health crisis. And the last thing is that we can do this. I mean, we can do this. We can save 185,000 lives. We can save over 1 million lives, non-fatal. Here in the United States, we're only talking 2,000 lives. There's 300 and some odd million people here in the United States. I don't think it would be that hard to mobilize enough people to be able to get that message out. And Allison, let me see here. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Parents don't want to be told that they're doing something wrong. I think that's where, when we start telling people about, well, that we need to do this, okay, we need to do this, or our children might drown. The D word, if we can communicate our message and not put the D word, and I refer to that as the drowning word, if we can do that and not put that in there, I think we can hold some attention a little bit better. It's a word that sparks fear, controversy, belief. Parents understand that water is dangerous. Parents understand, and they know their child can drown. I don't think we need to tell them that. They know this. I look at my own situation. It's 26 years ago, so I've been able to kind of back out of that a little bit and look at it from the standpoint and say, okay, what could somebody have said to me that would have prompted me to take a different action that day and not send my daughter to the pool? I don't know the exact answer, but number one is to have that conversation. The other day, I talked about the 3 C's. Okay. And everything happens in a conversation. And that is where it all takes place. But we have to put the conversation on them. We have to understand them. In other words, the first rule when you think of sales, and in this case, we're trying to sell water safety to somebody, okay? So we are essentially in some type of sales. The first rule of thumb in sales is do not sell the features and the benefits, okay? We need to find out what interests they have. And what people really want to know is, how is this going to make my life better? How is this going to keep my child safe? How is this going to, give my child the skills that they need, and show them and demonstrate this by giving them an effective story, maybe not your story, somebody else's story, and how, and it's a story of success, not this story. This is probably not the right story to tell a parent, to say, well, this is why you want your child to learn swimming lessons. I mean, granted, if this boy would have been a strong swimmer, case closed. This report would have never been written. So from that standpoint, it's a it's a very powerful, and we need to test this. We need to are we going to lose some battles? Yes, we're going to lose some battles. But if we win the war, then we're successful, and that's you know and Jennifer, you're right. It does shut people down very quickly. It's fear. I believe it's fear and it's belief. It's not that they don't know it can happen; they don't want to even think about it. I mean, it's just like letting your children play outside. I mean, we're so fearful today that somebody's going to kidnap and run away with our children, especially now that we have those doorbell cameras now, and we're seeing all kinds of stuff showing up in the media and the news of kids, being, people jumping out of the cars trying to grab people while they're running up to somebody's door. And, you just think that how much of that stuff was going on before the doorbell cameras. And so, it makes things real. If we can get, situations like this showing up, I mean, and tell the story the right way, then I think we can really solve and move the needle and get more people so accidents like that I shared with you yesterday do not happen. That's really my 2 cents here. And I think we need to make that claim, make that bold decision or bold claim that start telling people that you have the solution, and the solution is that you can provide a solution to what that family or what that family needs. You just need to find out exactly what it is that they want. And if you don't provide that particular solution, there are people that are part of this group, and there's people outside of this group that I'm sure in your community, in your area, that can provide that solution. And so that from that standpoint, get them the tools that they need, and we can be successful. But we just need to talk to somebody new every day and to have that talk in a conversation. Okay. Everything happens in the conversation. I had over 1,000 phone calls over a 12-month period, and I gleaned so much information. Most of the ideas that I'm talking about and what I've been talking about have all come from what the people have shared with me. And so just find out what the people want and give them what they want. And, I think in the end, the parents want their children to be safe. Parents want their children to have the ability to float, have the ability. We just have to educate them why it's important without scaring the living bejesus out of them and and having them run off. But hey, guys, I appreciate your time. I've kept you here way too long, and hopefully you have a great day. Make sure that share your thoughts either on this thread or shoot me an email at rick@thekelsgroup.com, or instant message me if you've got some thoughts. Love to hear any additional thoughts that you may have. I mean, this is how we get better. This is how we figure out somebody is doing something that's working, and we just need to tell everybody what that is. And so, and there's too many people, I think, that kind of keep things to themselves for one reason or other, and they don't share, either because they don't believe that what they can do can make a difference. But each one of us can make a small difference in one person's life. But if we focus on doing that each day, and we had 50,000 or 100,000 people in this world or in this country doing that, how many people can we affect on a day-to-day basis? So, I mean, it would be huge. It would have saved this boy's life. It probably would have saved my daughter's life. It probably would have saved hundreds of other children's lives. And we just got to be in people's face. It's that important. It's that important. You've got the cure. So let's take it to the people, guys. Hey, we'll talk to you all later. Have a great day. Enjoy your coffee. Get back to work, because I don't want any of us to get fired. Okay. Hey, we'll see y'all later. See you now. Bye. All right.